Hey, my loves, it's Christy here. Welcome back to Her Final Word Die, the only place where the truth gets the last laugh, no matter how deep someone tries to bury it. Before we dive into today's absolute roller coaster of a story, I have a quick, fun question for you. Drop the name of the city or town you are listening from in the comments below. I'm asking because today's story, sent to our inbox by a brilliant woman named Clara, proves that a toxic rumor can travel faster than the speed of light. Let's see how far across the globe the voice of our community can reach today. Clara's story is a masterclass in how vicious, blind envy can backfire in the most spectacular way possible. Make sure you stick around until the very end, because right after the jaw-dropping climax, I am going to share 3 brutal but highly effective psychological hacks on exactly how to handle backdoor workplace slander and how to completely dismantle a liar's reputation using their own momentum against them. Grab your popcorn because this one is going to leave you speechless. Brooke is right. I do have an incredibly close relationship with our CEO, Mr. Vance. Exactly 32 years ago, I spent 14 hours in agonizing labor giving birth to him before handing him 49% of the shares to this damn company. And tonight, I am revoking his signing authority. Brooke, you are fired effective immediately for gross misconduct and defamation. And as for you, son, tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. sharp, you will be outside my office with the full Q3 financial audit. And God help you if you are late. Clara never felt the need to shout about who she was. At 52, she possessed the kind of quiet elegance that only came from true security. Impeccably tailored gray suits, hair pulled back into a flawless, no-nonsense bun, and sharp, observant eyes. To the rest of the 90-story glass maze known as Vance Enterprises, she was simply a senior financial analyst. A diligent, irreplaceable mouse who could spot a single misplaced decimal point in a multi-million-dollar budget within seconds. No one in the office, not even the HR department, knew that Clara's modest title was entirely her own choice. After her husband passed, she wanted to see how the business operated from the ground floor, stripped of the fake smiles, sycophancy, and flattery that people usually hand to the owners of an empire. Brooke, on the other hand, was the definition of loud ambition. 28 years old, with predatory eyes, 5-inch designer heels bought on a maxed-out credit card, and an ego that far outpaced her actual skill set. Brooke was aggressively gunning for the upcoming promotion to lead auditor FI, a position that belonged to Clara by every right of experience, tenure, and sheer brilliance. "Clara, sweetie, still glued to your desk?" Brooke purred late Tuesday evening, leaning against Clara's cubicle partition with a patronizing tilt of her head. "You know, at your age, staring at spreadsheets all night really deepens the wrinkles. You should leave the heavy lifting to the young, fast, and ambitious. Some of us actually have a future here." Clara didn't even look up from her dual monitors. Her fingers continued to fly across the mechanical keyboard with rhythmic precision. "Ambition, Brooke, is measured by the accuracy of the net profit margins you turn in, not the height of your stilettos. I'll be done by 8. Have a safe drive home." Brooke's jaw tightened, her perfect veneer cracking for a fraction of a second. She turned on her heel and marched away, her heels clicking aggressively against the linoleum floor. In her mind, a dark, venomous plan was already taking root. She knew she couldn't beat Clara on merit or intelligence. She needed something dirtier. Something that would obliterate Clara's reputation beyond repair. An hour later, a torrential downpour slammed against the floor-to-ceiling glass windows of the lobby. Clara stepped outside onto the covered concrete pavilion, rubbing her exhausted, strained eyes. Right on cue, a sleek, pitch-black luxury limousine with heavy tinted windows glided smoothly through the sheets of rain, stopping right at the curb. The heavy rear door swung open, revealing the sharp, handsome face of a young man in a bespoke 3-piece Italian suit. It was Mr. Deported Righted, Arthur Vance, the 32-year-old, elusive, and fiercely demanding billionaire CEO of Vance Enterprises. "Mom, hurry up and hop in. You're going to catch a cold," Arthur called out, offering a warm, boyish smile that he never showed to the board of directors. Clara smiled warmly, quickly stepping under the oversized umbrella held by the driver and slid into the plush leather interior of the vehicle. The door clicked shut, and the limousine melted into the city traffic. What neither of them realized was that Brooke was standing just 20 feet away, hidden in the deep shadows of a massive marble pillar, waiting for her rideshare. Her umbrella shook in her hand, her eyes wide with malicious glee. She hadn't heard the word "Mom." Her mind, warped by envy, only registered one thing: the quiet, late-night intimacy of the CEO's personal limousine, and plain boring. Clara stepping inside like she owned the place. "So that's your little secret, you hypocrite," Brooke whispered to herself, a cruel, venomous grin spreading across her face. "Sleeping your way to the top with the bachelor boss. Let's see how long you keep that smug look when the entire company finds out." By 8:03 a.m. the next morning, Brooke had whispered the secret to 3 secretaries by the water cooler. By lunchtime, the rumor had mutated into a disgusting, detailed saga. Brooke spent her afternoon stepping into different departments, dropping casual, toxic bombs. "Oh my God, girls, I saw it with my own eyes." She practically threw herself into his lap in the back of the limo. "It's disgusting. Here we are, working 80 hours a week for pennies, while Clara is securing her promotion between the sheets of the boss's car. Truly pathetic." Within 48 hours, Clara's workplace transformed into a psychological war zone. People she had known for 5 years suddenly avoided her eyes in the hallway. When she stepped into the elevator, the lively chatter instantly died, replaced by heavy, suffocating silence. On Friday morning, Clara walked over to the communal printer to collect her weekly financial summaries. 2 junior male associates from the marketing department were standing nearby. Spotting Clara, one of them smirked and spoke loudly enough to ensure his voice carried. "Hey, did you hear about the new corporate KPI? Apparently, the fastest way to a promotion these days doesn't require a master's degree, just high flexibility and working the night shift, if you know what I mean." The other associate snickered into his paper coffee cup. Clara froze. Her heart hammered against her ribs, and a wave of hot, unadulterated humiliation threatened to choke her. She had poured her blood, sweat, and tears into building this company alongside her late husband, and now these young, arrogant boys were mocking her dignity to her face. Clara slowly turned around. Her eyes were chips of flint, radiating an authority that made both men instantly stiffen. "If your marketing conversion rates were half as creative as your pathetic locker room jokes, gentlemen, our Q2 revenue wouldn't be lagging," Clara said, her voice terrifyingly calm. "If I hear another unprofessional syllable, leave your mouths. I will personally review your department's budget, and you'll be practicing your comedy routines in the unemployment line. Clear?" The 2 associates went pale, mumbled an apology, and practically ran down the corridor. But Clara knew this wasn't an isolated incident. As she walked past the glass walls of the audit department, she saw Brooke sitting at her desk, sipping her iced coffee, watching the entire scene with an expression of pure, unbothered triumph. Brooke raised her cup slightly in a mock toast. The trap had been sprung, and Clara was fully isolated. Clara didn't storm into her son's office to demand a mass firing. She was far too calculated for a slobby reaction. She knew that if Arthur stepped in as the CEO to defend her, it would only legitimize the disgusting rumors in the eyes of the staff. The whispers would change to, "Look at her. The mistress ran to her sugar daddy to fight her battles." No, Clara was going to play this hand like a grand master. On Monday afternoon, Arthur called Clara into his top-floor office under the guise of reviewing the logistics for the upcoming annual Gala Lou, the most prestigious event of the year, attended by every employee, international investor, and major media outlet. "Mom, what is going on downstairs?" Arthur asked, locking his office door and turning to her with a worried frown. The atmosphere in the building feels incredibly tense. I passed Brooke from the audit team earlier, and she smiled at me like we share some dirty little secret. Clara Eleganti smoothed the fabric of her silk blouse, her expression unreadable. "Don't worry about it, Arthur. Just minor office politics. Tell me, is the final itinerary for the gala banquet locked in? Who is hosting the awards segment?" "Brooke volunteered," Arthur replied, shuffling through some papers on his desk. She was incredibly persistent about it. Said she wanted to introduce a special surprise to boost corporate morale and honor the most discussed employee of the year. A cold, razor-sharp smile touched Clara's lips. The very grave Brooke was digging for Clara was turning out to be the perfect size for Brooke herself. Perfect. "Let her host it," Clara said softly, "but I want you to make one small amendment to the script. Right before the closing remarks, give me the microphone. Tell the coordinators it's a surprise speech from our most senior financial advisor." Arthur looked confused, but nodded. "All right, Mom. If you say so. Are you sure you don't want me to handle whatever this is?" "Oh, it's already handled, sweetheart. Just make sure the cameras are rolling." The night of the annual gala was magnificent. The grand ballroom of the Mandarin Oriental Hotel was a sea of crystal chandeliers, flowing champagne, and expensive evening gowns. Over 300 employees and high-profile investors sat around circular tables draped in white silk. Brooke, wearing a show-stopping backless crimson gown, commanded the stage with a wireless microphone in hand. She looked like a queen, basking in the spotlight and the rapt attention of the room. Clara sat at a table near the very back, dressed in her usual reserved, midnight black pantsuit, calmly enduring the pointed snickers and judgmental stares from the employees around her. Brooke kept casting malicious, victorious glances her way from the stage. Finally, the clock struck 10:00 p.m. It was time for the closing segment. Brooke stepped to the very edge of the stage, her voice dropping into a dramatic, theatrical whisper that echoed perfectly through the high-end sound system. "And before we conclude this magical evening, dear colleagues, I want to address something deeply inspiring." Brooke paused, allowing a heavy, curious silence to blanket the room. "We all know how grueling it is to climb the corporate ladder here at Vance Enterprises, but tonight, I think we should recognize a truly unique talent among us. Someone who has shown us that you don't need hard work when you have a highly personalized, late-night approach to our executive leadership." A collective gasp rippled through the room. People began to turn their heads toward Clara's table. Brooke's smile widened, her eyes gleaming with pure malice. "Let's hear it for our senior analyst, Clara, who is about to jump straight to lead auditor, all thanks to her exceptional nighttime services in the back of our CEO's limousine. Truly, Clara, your dedication to Mr. Vance is unforgettable." Low murmurs, shocked whispers, and outright muffled laughter erupted across the ballroom. In the front row, Arthur's face turned an angry, dangerous shade of crimson. He began to storm out of his chair, but Clara, who had silently glided up the aisle, placed a firm, immovable hand on his shoulder, forcing him back down. "Stay!" Clara commanded in a low, absolute whisper that brooked no argument. "Watch how it's done." Clara walked up the steps of the stage with the slow, unbothered grace of a monarch walking toward her throne. Brooke stood there, her face a mask of smug satisfaction, handing over the microphone. She expected Clara to cry, to beg, or to flee the room in utter humiliation. Instead, Clara took the microphone, turned around, and faced the 300 people in the room. "Brooke is absolutely right," Clara's voice rang out, crystal clear, completely devoid of fear or shame. I do share an incredibly close, deeply intimate relationship with Mr. Corton. Vance. Brooke smirked, crossing her arms and taking a step back, waiting for the final blow. But Clara's next words caused that smirk to instantly freeze, shatter, and slide right off her face. Exactly 32 years ago, I spent 14 hours in a delivery room, tearing my body apart so that boy could enter this world. I raised him, I funded his education, and when he was ready, I transferred 49% of the founding shares of this empire to him, shares that I earned alongside his late father. Brooke's arms dropped to her sides. Every ounce of color drained from her face, leaving her a sickly, ghostly white. Her knees visibly shook. And tonight, Clara continued, turning her icy, lethal gaze directly onto Brooke, as the majority stakeholder and chairperson of the board, I am officially revoking the CEO's unilateral signing authority to deliver a directive of my own. Brooke, you are fired effective immediately. No severance, no references, and your file will permanently reflect determination for gross corporate defamation. Security is already waiting at the back to escort you from the premises. Brooke looked around the room in a blind panic, but the colleagues who had laughed with her an hour ago now looked away in absolute horror. Two burly security guards stepped onto the stage, firmly gripping Brooke by her upper arms. She tripped over her own 5-inch heels as she was publicly dragged out through the side exit, her career, her reputation, and her life in the corporate world utterly destroyed. Clara turned back to the audience, a calm smile on her face. "And as for you, Arthur?" She looked down at her son, who was now sitting up straight like a terrified schoolboy. "I expect you in my office at 8:30 a.m. sharp with the Q3 audits. Don't be late. Enjoy the rest of your evening, everyone." The ballroom remained dead silent for 3 seconds before exploding into a deafening, thunderous ovation led by the international investors. Clara laid the microphone gently down on the podium and walked off the stage. The Queen had taken her crown back. "Oh my God, my loves, I literally have goosebumps right now. What an absolute queen." Brooke was so utterly blinded by her own venomous jealousy that she didn't even bother to do a basic background check or look at the company's original incorporation documents before launching her little smear campaign. That is the thing about malicious gossipers. Envy completely rots their ability to think logically. Brooke wanted to orchestrate the public execution of Clara's dignity, and instead, she handed Clara the rope to hang her own career with. As promised, let's talk about 3 brutal, non-negotiable psychological hacks you must use if you ever find yourself the target of nasty rumors or workplace gaslighting. Hacky 1. Starve the parasite of emotional data. People who spread rumors are emotional vampires. They feed entirely on your panic, your tears, your frantic explanations, or your anger. When Clara remained completely unbothered, she broke Brooke's psychological momentum. Silence is not weakness sometimes. It's just the quiet before a devastating storm. Hack 2. Never offer defensive explanations to a crowd. The second you start running around crying, "It's not true, I swear," you subconsciously signal to the crowd that you are operating from a position of guilt and weakness. Explanations reinforce the lie. Let people think what they want while you quietly gather your ammunition. Hack 3. Let the liar climb to the very peak of their lie before you cut the rope. Clara didn't stop the rumor early in a quiet HR room. She waited for the grandest, most public stage possible, allowing Brooke to firmly establish her malice in front of every single witness that mattered. When you strike back, do it once. Do it with undeniable, objective facts, and make sure it is fatal to their reputation. Now, I want to open up the floor to you guys, because this story brings up a fascinating ethical dilemma. Do you think Clara did the right thing by keeping her son in the dark and turning the company's biggest night into a public execution, potentially risking a bit of the company's PR stability? Or did Brooke deserve every single ounce of that public, soul-crushing humiliation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash that like button if you loved watching a toxic bully get completely dismantled. And don't forget to subscribe to Her Final Word. Remember, people can whisper whatever they want behind your back, but you are the only one who gets the final word. See you in the next video.